Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of FinTech News. I'm your host, Nicholas Belvo, Head of Marketing here at FinTech Cadence. And I'm joined by Sagar, Head of Research. How's it going?
Good, you?
Good. Today we have 4 news pieces that we want to share with you. We're going to start off with FinTech OS, which raises $14 million. Rapyd, which is now valued at a whopping $1.2 billion after a $20 million raise. Yes Bank, which launches their API marketplace, pretty interesting, and Flexpay, which raises $6 million. So a lot of raises, but what we're going to do is mostly dive into these startups, learn about what they do, and see how they contrast and compare. So maybe let's kick it off with the first one. Sagar, could you tell us a bit about what FinTech OS is all about?
So the term that they use is TaaS, which is testing as a service. The first time that I've heard it today.
Me too.
And if I were to really boil it down, and if I understand correctly, it's a very new concept that I've heard in fintech. Is they create this entire ecosystem of data, APIs, visualization tools, and everything that you can imagine for a bank to create a new fintech product, test it really quickly, and then commercialize it and then bring it into production. So
kind of like a sandbox approach for a bank or a financial institution?
A sandbox approach is different. It's more about testing whether you are violating certain policies
Or regulations.
regulations. But this is actually equipping you with all the tools that you can imagine to do things faster. It's like, imagine in 1995 when you had Microsoft Office, all of your work was digitized, and you could do things really quickly,
Sure.
Make mistakes, and then come up with the final solution. It's something similar to that.
Okay, and integrating into these legacy systems?
That's a good question. I do not have the answer to that. That could be a challenge, and maybe they have these capabilities to test with the legacy systems of the bank. So,
Okay.
so you're building a new fintech product that is all based on machine learning AI and all these new technologies, but you also have to work with legacy systems.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason that they're building this testing solution.
And definitely an important place in the market to be able to let banks or financial institutions innovate internally and be much more lean, more rapid, and get to the market.
It's competition for banks now because they can do the similar things.
Move almost as quick as fintechs.
Right,
I'm sure
exactly.
there'd still be a lag even with a technology like
Right,
this.
true.
But at least they're now in the same playing field.
Right. It's pros and cons. They have the data, but fintechs move faster. But
The bridge is getting smaller for a
Right,
company like
yeah.
this. Cool. Rapyd. So kind of similar but different. Could you tell
Right.
us a bit about them?
So again, really new concept. They've been in existence for a while, but this is the first time that I heard about them. They provide a single API for, and let's use the example of payments, for merchant to make transactions and payments all over the world. So if I'm, let's say, a freelancer and I'm doing design work for someone in Brazil, they can use the Rapyd API through their banking system or somehow in a seamless and frictionless manner to make payments. So they automate the process of KYC, cybersecurity, regulations, and then it's all consolidation of these. Instead of me as a service provider working with 10 different startups that one does KYC, one does payments,
Right.
They all integrate into one single API, which is really cool concept.
Okay.
I think you had notes on the valuation for
Rapyd?
Yeah,
1.2 billion.
1.2 billion, which kind of explains that they could capture a really big market share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I when you get to a valuation like that, it shows the importance it plays in the market and the belief that the VCs have in it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they make their place and keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, it's a new concept.
Yes Bank. So a bank now launching their own marketplace. I first time I hear of this.
Same here again. It's like we see this movement towards platformification of financial services.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's an interesting move. One that
Yeah.
they're like, yes, let's let's go, let's do it. It's bold.
It's real. It's bold, but there is a need for this in the market.
Yeah.
Using the example of Shopify and how well they're doing it. This isn't a Shopify case, but it's let's say, I would say, an evolution of
Yeah.
what Shopify is doing. So let's assume that we want to create a new
donut shop.
a donut shop tomorrow, and we're looking to have lending services, payment services, and everything related to finances.
Yeah, because people are going to really like our donuts. They're going to have to borrow some money,
yeah,
right?
we're gonna have to borrow some money to to make more donuts. This API allows us to do that in a really fast and seamless fashion.
Okay.
I think they have use cases for school tuition payments, and one more example that they gave, it escapes me right now. So there's a lot of demand in the market, and it's an Indian bank, and the population is huge there. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing other banks will follow suit.
And it lets you, instead of going through a third party to then integrate with the bank, they're just offering it directly,
yeah.
capturing the market that way and cutting out the middlemen.
Right. I spoke with someone a few days ago, not days, months ago, who said that this will happen, that APIs in themselves will become a product that banks will start selling. So
And it's not just one, it's really a marketplace here where they have multiple.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Last piece for the day, Flexpay.
Flexpay, one of my favorite startups in Canada. I've heard them pitch a couple of times, once in Toronto and once at the FinTech Forum.
Okay.
Cool concept, because I come from retail, and they allow the merchant to reduce the number of false declines, and a false decline is when you and I enter the correct information, credit card information,
Your PIN and everything.
address, everything is fine, but still the card gets declined. And the cost to the industry, according to the article, is around $330 billion.
What?
In the US alone.
What?
Yeah. So
just because like people they give up on the purchase and they abandon cart.
Exactly. It's cart abandonment, and due to the false declines, they just give up. I believe all of us have done that at some point or the other.
Yeah, here and there, or especially when traveling, trying to withdraw more
Right.
from an ATM, less from an actual merchant. But I'm sure I've seen it happen working in a retail store myself. So
Yeah. So it's a big problem that they're solving. But
do you know how they're solving it?
It's using machine learning and AI. I do not know the granularities,
Yeah.
but it's definitely machine learning and AI. And if I remember the pitch correctly, I can go through the article really quickly here. It's they reduce the false declines by up to more than 80%. So they're doing pretty well.
That's huge. So if you're taking 80% on the 300 billion plus in the States alone, it's savings of 100.
It's close to 280 billion. Yeah, but
can't believe
that's
that.
assuming that they captured the
Right.
market.
No, for sure. But that's a huge addressable market, and something that most people don't even realize is a problem.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
especially of that scale.
Mhm.
Pretty fascinating. So that justifies a raise of 6 million. Congrats. So that wraps up everything for today's episode of FinTech News. Hope you enjoyed it and that you have a great week. Next week, tune in again at 3:30 on Tuesday for the last episode of 2019 before the holidays, and then we'll catch you again in early January 2020. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.